Hi, I'm Chad Wingard, a proud Nuddenjerry man and former Port Adelaide and Hawthorn player. Firstly, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land on which I'm recording from today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respect to their elders, past and present. I also want to acknowledge the traditional owners on the countries where you all live, work and play, and extend my respects to all people of all cultures, backgrounds watching this from around the beautiful lands of Australia.
Hello and welcome to this very special celebration of the Indigenous Team of the Century, 20 years on. I'm joined today by three legends of the game themselves. Chris Johnson, Indigenous Team of the Century, 3 times Lions Premiership player, 2 times All-Australian. Chris, welcome.
Good to be here, Uncle Ernie.
And then we got Michael O'Loughlin, Mickey O, Indigenous Team of the Century, Australian Rules Hall of Famer, Premiership player, and 2 times All-Australian. Great to have you with us tonight, Mickey.
Great to see you, Unc.
And Chad Wingard, another 2 times All-Australian and John Cahill medal winner. Welcome, Chad.
Great to be here.
Oh, good. Now, straight away, let's get into that night. Not you just the readiness for the big night in 2005.
Well, in the room there was celebrities there. There was obviously all the players that you've seen play over the number of years, and it was exciting to be in the room. There was a sense of excitement about being named in the side, and everyone from the football industry were there in the room that night. It was outstanding, Mickey, wasn't it?
Oh, incredible night. You think about the players that are in that room, as Jono's mentioned, but we used to have posters on our walls of those players. So to be able to be in a really relaxed atmosphere, they were yet to name the team, but that first, I reckon, hour of it was just almost about going, getting photos and getting autographs. It was incredible.
As a backline, though, were you the sort of bloke that's sort of like, I know all these blokes vying for this position. Who do I take out to put my name up there?
Look, we'll go through the whole roster in a minute, but geez, it was just an amazing night.
You had to pinch yourself pretty much.
Yep.
You had to sort of look around, and you've seen the Longies, you've seen the Michael McLeans, you've seen the Chris Lewises, you've seen all these guys in the room, and you'd watched them from afar, Chad, and all of a sudden you've been named in a team with them that's represented the Indigenous people that have played AFL over the last century. So it was absolutely huge night.
And I reckon it also, as we were current players.
Yeah, we were.
So we were still playing the game, and a lot of the players had obviously been retired and had been legends of the game for a long period of time. So for playing, it felt really strange. I don't know about you, John, but it was really strange. And both Adam Goods and myself were representing the Swans. It was an incredible night.
Also on that, as a young fella watching that, watching these players in front of you and going, crikey, can I be as good as that?
Well, it's visibility. You see these guys on the footy field, you see yourselves in them, and try to emulate them. I remember being in the backyard, trying to be Gavin Wanganeen, trying to be Andrew McLeod, trying to be Mickey O, like trying to emulate what they can do. They've done it on a bigger stage. We're doing it in the backyard, and, they've inspired the next generation to be on the AFL footy field. So the players that I played with, we couldn't walk those footsteps if it wasn't for the Chris Johnsons, the Mickey O's, these kind of players that obviously paved the way for us.
Let's talk about that backline.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I get named next to Darryl White every week at the Lions, and to be named against, in the same backline, in the same conversation as Gavin Wanganeen and Adam Goods, that was pretty surreal. I'd played against Gavin my first game and seen Adam come through as well. To actually be named in a team next to those guys, and we didn't have state of origins back then, so we weren't able to play with each other, and those little bits and pieces. But to be named in the same team is with some of these guys, not just in the backline, but across the whole ground. But some of those backline players were outright sort of the best going around in the game.
How do you describe someone like Gavin Wanganeen?
Oh, geez, he's iconic. He really, he's played a lot forward, played a lot wing in his early days, and then went back to the back line and won a Brownlow medal. He was outstanding. He was just courageous. The way he went back with the flight of the ball a couple of times and got hit high on the head and just kept going, basically. And then obviously went over to Port Adelaide and kicked a number of goals over there as well, and played up forward, was part of that little forward dynamic team that got us in 04, and then we go see him kicking a goal there. But look, he was outright a champion.
Mickey, out of all those, which one would you pick?
Ooh.
Which one would you stand behind?
I'm not going to go there.
No, try it.
Look, I played against Chris Johnson a few times. Probably, if I'm looking at the team itself, probably the best kick in the team. So taking the kick out, setting play up, an unbelievable player in his own right. It was very, very tough to play on. always creating. He was always a nuisance to play against. So
That smile, eh?
incredible, right? And that's what he was like. It looked like he was killing you softly, right? But it was. He just did so much damage, and obviously an integral part of the Lions. And before that, Fitzroy. And we spoke about Gav Wingard. What a player. I grew up idolising. Same football club from the mighty South Australian team there, the Salisbury North Football Club, that's produced a lot of AFL football players. But also, you know, he was just something special. And Chris has already touched on him. And then I guess the other one is probably Adam Goodes is playing and is named at centre half back. Now, probably the most versatile player in that team. And I was lucky enough to play a lot of football with Adam, one of my great mates. But centre half back, and he played there a fair bit as well, learning the trade. So Adam Goodes is as good as they come, and we've all know what he's accomplished over his career.
Chad, if you was to have a look at that line, mate, where would you go? Where would you stand beside?
I'm going to put my forward hat on, and I'd struggle to who I want to line up against. I don't want to see any of these players if I'm walking on a footy field, manning me up as a forward player. But for me, it's Adam Goodes. I mean, like a lot of these players, they transcend the game of football and what they've done on the field. I mean, you think about what Goodes has done off the field with the Go Foundation, but what he meant to, I suppose, our generation growing up. I watched him, again, try to emulate him, but what he could do on the footy field was insane. Like, he could ruck, he could be on ball, go forward, and for how long he played for and how consistent he was with his game, he could literally do it all. And he was one of those players, he's actually a lot taller. And same with you, Mickey. Like, these players are taller than you. We see them in real life. You think they're smaller, but they are huge athletes. And you think about the way that they play, you think they must be 175, 180, but they're 190. Like, they're taking marks, they're kicking goals, they're so classy. And for me, Adam Goodes, the class, what he's done off field is something that I'll always look up for as well.
The other one's pretty big too is Bill Dempsey. Like, we obviously didn't see a lot of him play other than the vision, and him to be in that side as well, like in that back line, is just huge for him and huge for us as well. He was a tallish type player, and he was WA's and through the NT as well, a real stalwart of his era as well at the same time.
The boy from Birdham, down on the railway line, down in the centre of Northern Territory. He went to Perth as a teenager from a strong family background that was disrupted from his youth, but as a teenager to go down to another part of the world to play football.
It's not easy, and even in these days, you admire the guys that have got to travel. Once they get drafted, they've got to pick up their things and go pretty much the next 2 days. But you admire guys that actually have travelled in their journey, especially that have been named in this side, and have actually made a name for themselves as well.
Looking at that back line there, who else would you put in there? I mean, if the back line's doing that, if the forward line's doing the job properly, you don't need a back line.
Well, exactly. You got 2 players that are sitting on the interchange, Michael McLean and Byron Pickett. They're 2. Choppy can swing forward or back. It'd be unreal to see if we could actually do some AI about this team and see how they actually performed against it. But Choppy, I played against Choppy a few times, and he nailed me when he was at North Melbourne and then at Port Adelaide. And you would have played with him too, Chad.
I didn't play with him, but I just remember his torpedoes. I remember at North Melbourne when he had those back-to-back torps. They were unbelievable. And you think about the hits, you think about the class, but Norm Smith, you think what he meant to that club at that time. And I mean, he was just such a unit and if you talk about aura or someone who can just walk into a club and just change it, like, he was unbelievable what he did.
Beautifully balanced, absolutely beautifully balanced. Darragh White's probably the other one, another real versatile player, named at fullback in the team of the century, but also played a lot of footy up in the wing and certainly up forward. So, incredible player again, and a 3-time premiership player.
He is.
On the side of it, looking at Darragh White's coming, his long distance running as a background to his side of it. The skill with basketball, as a lot of the players do as well. Choppy's mum's family side is a bloke by the name of SYD George, Sid George. Incredible footballer at the day himself. Just that uncanny ability to move on a threepenny bit, as it spoke in those days, to run full pelt, torps were the big thing of the game, but basically run just as fast to get there before the torp landed. Was just an amazing skill that the backgrounds of where these kids come from. You talk about Andrew McLeod, and you're sort of like, well, that's a package.
It is.
That's getting all the lollies in the one bag.
It is. And I guess the other guy that we probably forget that he played down back at the start of his career was Andrew McLeod. You know, you could slide him in there at the same time as well. You know, slicks, very smooth in those two best on grounds in the grand final. He came off half-back and just turned those grand finals on a number of times, and you know, was obviously moved on from Fremantle. We're told that he was too big and too slow and all that type of stuff, and he comes out to be an absolute legend of the game, and one of the better players that have probably donned on, or one of the best players that don on the Adelaide Crows jumper.
Oh, we love those players that can play midfield, push forward, and kick goals and create. Andrew, and the same with Goodsy, you know, like you look at those players that go forward and just create havoc, while also, you know, getting their hands on the footy a fair bit too throughout a game.
Yep. Let's go back to the starting of all that. The impacts of the original Indigenous players. Where do you look for that? I mean, you can talk about Pastor Doug, for instance, and Sid Jackson and stuff like that, but where does it go with you?
I guess for me, you know, I used to be sitting there on the couch on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon and watch, you know, Nicky Winmar, Michael Long, these type of guys, and they're the ones that sort of gave me the aspiration, saying, hey, if these guys can do it, so can I. You know, your Michael McLeans, but I guess for a Victorian that we didn't probably see a lot of Victorian Indigenous players play, and he's not in the side, but Lully Bamblett I used to look at him as well. But certainly, you know, looking on the big stage and watching these guys, you sort of looked at them and thought, okay, if they can do it, why can't we do it as well? And you know, that's where I got my aspiration from, to be able to be an elite AFL player and to be named in the team of the century.
There's an amazing amount of suburban footballers or country footballers. I mean, the Atkinson boys out of Shep, for instance, it's just a bloodline. You just pick one, it'll do it, sort of. That sort of thing. Wheatbelt is another area that a lot of the boys that have gone through playing football the hard way. Choppy's a good example of that. But then you get a lot of footballers that Cantilla, for instance. Not too many people have seen him play. I did. I'm very lucky to have seen the visions from South Australia of this amazing athlete. That's what they were, athletes. I mean, a couple of the boys came down from the territory to play football or to play basketball and switched over. One of those, Michael O'Matt, who went down to play football, swapped and played basketball for Australian team in Mexico Olympics. So we have these great people from our past.
Well, it's the impact that they have on, like, myself and Mickey, but then even the younger guys in Chad's era as well. It's the big impact that they have there. I guess, you know, Michael Long and the other guys, and even us here. I think that's the impact that they have, isn't it, Chad?
Yeah, and you think about the Michael Longs, you think about you guys here as well, but the impact it has on the next generation. You think about the guys that are playing now, like who we're looking up to, and these players that are in the system right now, we thank the guys like yourselves to be on the TV, to be representing us. And again, seeing yourselves in those players. I mean, Gavin Wanganeen was one for me that when I was obviously in South Australia, got to watch a lot of their games, him and Andrew McLeod, but Gavin Wanganeen specifically, because when I got drafted to Port Adelaide, there was a Gavin Wanganeen medal, which I was able to win in my first year. And again, straight away, being connected to someone of that calibre and to hear his story and to have that impact that he's obviously created, a medal of his name at that club, and it's for a young fella coming through, you look up to these players. You look up, when you get into a club, every single club in the AFL has someone that you could look up to in Indigenous space and what they've done on the field or off field. So that impact that it has on the next generation. We walk into the club rooms, we know Gavin Wanganeen's walked through here. We know Buddy Franklin's walked here, Mickey O. Like, they've made a name for themselves, and it allows me to walk behind them. And I feel like they've created that space for us to do so. So you think about the impact you guys have continually do, but also this team and what it represents is hope.
It's incredible. You sort of sit there and you go, in the backyard as a kid growing up, and someone would say, you play a little, hey, you look like such and such, or you look like this. And then sometimes you'd be scratching your head going, I didn't see Bill Dempsey play, I didn't see Sid Jackson play, but they've had such an impact on our uncles, aunties, grandmothers, grandfathers, that it just sort of carries on. It's amazing for us to be able to reflect on all of that. And one sort of certainly strikes my mind is Michael Graham, the Flash. And he was
original Flash,
the original Flash. So he was incredible.
Been a lot of flashes.
But he was just a devastating player, incredible. Just tore oppositions to shreds. And I remember growing up watching him at my great uncle Wilbur Wilson's house. He was a legend himself in South Australia.
Just name drop that one.
Pick that up.
And so Uncle Wilbur would talk about all these different players, and they would sort of rank them in their own sort of spots as you're sitting around having a barbecue. It was incredible yarns for a young fella to be able to sit back and listen and just hear these names. So, it's pretty impressive.
With the looking at that side of the older players and stuff, the Coonabarra Roosters, for instance, you know, the Relkin Swans, and even the Port Lincoln family, that's down that way, just full-on black teams.
Incredible.
In association, Coonabarra, for instance, in Sejuna, used to put 2 teams in just to make sure there was 4 teams to play that particular season during the war, when all the young white fellas are taken off to the war. Blackfella team they'd put in 2 teams and end up playing each other in the grand final. And Relkin was the same. It was that as well. I mean, the lads from Port Lincoln, where Choppy had gone through as well. I'm sorry, talking about Choppy too much, but there's a lot of those clubs that are very dominant. If you have a look at the Tiwi Bombers, for instance, you know, you've got a bloodline of Riolis just coming out of there, and they're just pouring out through Jabiru Bombers. Might something to say about that, but it's a breeding ground.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing that a lot of our mob, they travelled interstate and played locally.
Yeah.
Like I went up to Darwin as a young fella to play with the Southern District Crocodiles. That was an amazing experience for me to be able to go and do that, get to know culture and meet a lot of different people. And vice versa, a lot of the mob up in Darwin came down to South Australia and played. So, and we spoke about David Cantilla, you know, who was a champion at South Adelaide and won a couple of best and fairest, and was just so impactful. And what he was able to do, certainly in South Australia, was amazing.
His standing jump was incredible. It didn't need much of a run up, but just his vertical was sort of like, what is this bloke's skinny legs on him, and it's all just tendons. Yeah, boom up, big, amazing athlete to do that. Now, midfield, Mickey O. Midfield. Let's start with you and have a look at that midfield.
I know, it's pretty impressive, and we'll just go through it. Have a listen to this, guys. Peter Matera on the wing, Morris Rioli in the middle, Michael Long on the other wing, and then you've got the followers, Polly Farmer, the great Polly Farmer, who is obviously the captain, and Andy McLeod. And I like to, and we've spoken about Andy and how an amazing player he is. But you think about those players and the impact that they had. Chad, you've already mentioned growing up watching these guys the same year. When I saw Michael Long win that Norm Smith medal in '93, Gav won the Brownlow. It was just a huge, I guess, day. And you think about watching your champions play at their peak. That's a pretty formidable centre line, and you think about who was going to play on them and keep up with them.
You look at Peter Matera, oh my God, you watched him through though, you know, it was the first time that an interstate club had come over here to Melbourne, being a Melburnian, and just tore teams apart, and he was one of the guys that tore those teams apart over here in the grand finals. And his ability to run, carry the ball, deliver goals outside 50 as a wingman was just outstanding. And you know, these are the Sunday afternoons that I was watching on the couch over in WA there, watching the games. He was a legend of the game, and for him to be named in the team of the century was just and this goal here was just one I remember. I remember this so much against Geelong.
Turning point.
And the guy who gives him the Norm Smith there,
Flying Doorman.
Yeah, it was a flying doorman. Bristol, local football. It came from my junior football club as well. So that's why I remember that game so much. And Peter Matera, he was an outright legend.
The Matera boys were absolutely amazing, but Wally, the older brother, will say that they weren't as good as him. And that's what I love about
That's what older brothers do, don't they?
But he was a bloody good footballer. But the thing is, the league wasn't ready for Wally. That's sort of like, get him out of the road now. Now we can see what happens. Let's bring him in the blood, like in Phil, and Peter came into the team.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Uncle. Polly Farmer, he's the ruckman. Tell us a little bit more.
Oh, Polly Farmer. Polly had he had that funny kicking style because he only had one boot. He used to practice on one shoe, and that was the great thing about Polly Farmer is. He'd gone to Sister Kate's and he wanted to get into playing football, but what I love about Polly's football history is nothing would faze him from what he had to do. If on the field when they used to do the colour bar situation, Polly didn't listen to what people called him or anything. all he used to say was, he'd say, that's going to cost you. And whatever the opposition had said to him to try and put him off his game, that's going to cost you. The bloke reinvented the game, not only the way he rucked because of his style, but on top of that with his handball. I mean, the bloke's pushing in 30, 40 metre handballs, something that he thought was a better way of getting, it's quicker to get the ball and move it on that fast. So every time someone had said something to Polly about his race or you know, where he comes from and stuff like that, mentally he'd go, that's going to cost you. And he'd invent something else that changed the game. And it was an amazing man to watch it, the way he played. I mean, East Perth, West Perth, back over home in Perth. But the thing about him, there is a underground tunnel that's East Perth, West Perth, and they aptly named it the Polyfarmer Freeway, because it was the only bloke that joined the East Perth and West Perth together, because a whole bunch of so-called Mediterranean wogs on one side and a whole bunch of whites on the skirts on the other side, and it never saw eye to eye, those two clubs. It was a strong rivalry, and the only one to put them together was Polly.
We know a lot about Polly as well, and thanks for that, because we've heard so much over the journey, but his teammate. And he's also on the team of the century, Ted Kilmurray.
Oh, square Kilmurray. Yeah. He was just one of those guys who, if you needed to, you never looked behind you because Ted was there. When Polly he was a ruck rover to Polly, and he knew Ted would you watch the way Polly would do it, and it was evident to what he needed or where he couldn't be. So Ted would always fill that spot up, and he would read the game the way he read Ted. I mean, he had a little rover as well on that East Perth team. There was just three of them, three blackfellas that was just bang, bang, bang. And ball coming centre line, wherever Ted would, wherever Polly wanted to ruck it, Ted was there. Amazing. Ted would read that. And he was an amazing, he came in from the bush as well, come from a upset background, grew up into that hardened side of it, but the funnel went into the football. The same as Polly, and that's where we have such champions like those two from that era. I mean, the other person on the other side of that was the brilliance of young Sydney Jackson.
And the other one that we should mention is Maurice Rioli. Maurice Rioli, he was probably one of the first NT guys that sort of came down here and paved the way for your Michael McLeans and your Michael Longs, the ones that have come out of the NT and, you know, donned on the Richmond jumper, played at South Fremantle as well, and the family went through there as well, as you spoke about all the Riolis up in the Tiwi there, but certainly through South Fremantle as well, Chad. And we see young Morris running around very similar like. Morris hasn't gone to the midfield, but certainly Morris Senior here was an outstanding contributor.
Yeah, there was the four of them there at South Fremantle. Big bad Basil Campbell, who you wore a helmet, and they used to think he used to use it. Sebastian Rioli, Morris's older brother. That was the paver. Sebastian Rioli, Benny Vagona, Basil Campbell, and Morris was the young bloke coming in under that. Same in the Wally Matera story. It's that they guys that just, you know, step out of the way and let my little brother in. And Morris came in, and I'm happy in so many ways, because my uncle wore number 17 for the Tigers for Claremont, and then Morris came to Richmond and wore number 17 for the Tigers. I couldn't have been more proud to be a Tiger supporter and a 17 because of Chris Lewis's dad, and also for Maurice Rioli, who prior to his games at Richmond, he came up the summer with me up in the mountains in Victoria, and I'm out in the boats with him and run around in the water and stuff. I forgot that he's a registered player for Richmond. I nearly injured the poor kid with the beam of the sailboat. So I thought, no, I'm not going to tell him about that. But that football family that came for South Fremantle, for instance, a lot of South Fremantle boys are in that team as well, in the team of the century. It's that bloodline.
It is.
And I'm glad now that people are starting to realise that that is where we find our players. Chad, midfield, what do you got for me?
Well, Peter Burgoyne. You always think about Sean Silk, but Peter Burgoyne in his own right, obviously he's in the team of the century, but he was a superstar. You think about the clearances. He got one of the most clearances ever in a game for Port Adelaide, and what I love about some of these players, the inside-outside work. So you think about, imagine playing with your brother at the highest level and winning a premiership together. Like, you talk about things that you dream of when you grow up. It's like, I want to play AFL, but can you fathom growing up with your older brother, younger brother, Shawnee, and winning a premiership together. Like that's the epitome of success, epitome of doing something together. And like them two together were such a great 1-2 punch, and both of them are very versatile. But Peter, for me, a little bit like very quick. And you talk about someone who can get out of a stoppage really quick and then deliver it on point. Peter was that guy.
He was the ace card pretty much for their midfield,
Yeah.
wasn't he? He was able to take the ball away from stoppage quite easily, but could sneak forward as well and kick a couple of goals. Us coming up against him, he was probably one of the guys that we had to lock down really significantly, because we knew if he got off the chain, we were in all sorts. And especially when he was coming through as a young fella, he showed glimpses at certain stage. He was always destined to be a great player.
Beautiful user of the footy.
Yeah.
A lot like this guy here next to me, but beautiful user of the football. Never wasted a possession.
And again, the younger brother gets all the credit. That's so wrong.
400 games,
I
probably,
can
fair
see
enough.
where he's making a mistake now. I got this. So basically, all you need is a younger brother to take over from after. So
Keep you humble.
To keep you humble in so many different ways. I mean, Silk was brilliant in what he did. I mean, you have a look at that. But it's the thing about that midfield. You're going to have to try, what makes it so special is to hold a position in that midfield.
I think, you look at all of them. You look across the line, which you mentioned before. You've got Peter Matera. You've got a Norm Smith medalist there. He's been outstanding. You got Cyril. You got Maurice Rioli as well, and you even got Sid Jackson. Michael Long as well. So you look across that centre line, and as an opposition coach, I think that leading into a game against this side, there'd be a lot of sleepless nights that you'd have trying to orchestrate. Oh, how do we get it? How do we not let Polly Farmer have an impact to the game? How do we not let Andrew McLeod? And there'd be so much worried into an opposition
Who
coach.
you tagging?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Exactly. It'd be so challenging, and that's what makes the midfield so great.
Yeah.
You just mentioned it there. Norm Smith medalist on the wing, Norm Smith medalist in the middle, Norm Smith medalist on the other wing, and a Norm Smith medalist roaming. It's unbelievable. So, I mean, just incredible. Imagine chasing those guys around for an afternoon. Jeez.
How many marks would
There's
we
a
take?
lot
Would
of-
be missed kicks? Would be just marks? We'd be going back and forth.
How
We'd be
many?
like tennis.
There's so many Norm Smith medalists in there. It's unbelievable.
But on the other side, it wouldn't be great to have your brother and your cousin in the same team as you up against these blokes. Because, you think together and you need to do that. What is the legacy that midfield leaves behind?
Look, it sets a challenge for I guess the guys coming into the game now, and it sets a real good standard on where you need to be if you want to be an elite player in this competition. Some of these guys have really paved the way and set the blueprint for the way to actually then go on and be successful at an AFL club. And look, what they've left behind is a true legacy that not just us as players that have played the game, but certainly fans of the game will look upon and say, hey, how good were those guys?
And you think about the midfield, for me, you see Cozzy up in the forward line. If you think about the players that are playing right now, when he went into the midfield, geez, did he step up.
Yep.
Who's another person recently this year that's gone from the half back to the midfield for St Kilda? Naz. How amazing has his transition been in the midfield? So the midfield is where you can make the most impact, as you know, Jono. Like you can win games and you set the tone. So this midfield group, and you see the brothers that are coming through now, the trendsetters like the Naz, the Cozzy, that are coming into, I suppose, their second position, or they're getting the opportunity to really be in that midfield unit.
I think
they're taking it by hands.
Isaac Rankin sits in that same category as well. He's come off a sort of a forward role and he can go forward and be really dangerous, but his numbers this year have gone through the roof.
You think about the next 100 years when we pick the next team, what kind of calibre of players he's going to be.
Mick and I were saying before, I wouldn't want to be a part of that selection committee at all. At all.
That was the fun thing about being a part of the selection committee, putting these names down and then running. Just chuck the names in and sort of like, okay, let the dust settle. The back line, for instance, and that midfield is such a powerful thing. Have a look at today's running, though. We don't have too many backlines because they got it right in the forward line. Who have we got in the back line now?
Stephen May.
Okay, go past Stephen May, for instance. Them black fellas, they don't want to just kick goals. They just want to flash out in the wing from the half back forward. That's all they want to be. So what other players have we got?
Yeah, Liam Jones, he's obviously been a superstar. Had some.
You got Naz, he plays off a half
Yeah,
back. If you're
yeah.
sort of half back midfield
Jam
as
and
well.
Impey, like
Yeah.
the Carl Amon, the guys that are coming off the half back specifically.
And I reckon the game has changed too
It
now,
has.
where I reckon back in these days we were set in the back line and we played in the back line pretty much for our whole career.
Shut down a player.
Yeah, shut down a player. Where now I think coaches are able to move them around anywhere. So I reckon in the next one or the next team of the century, Indigenous team of the century, there's going to be a lot more flexibility in around the selection part of it all.
So that forward line that we're looking at now, what are the standouts?
Mickey A, the guy who's on the panel here with us, like his ability to be able to get up the ground and work his players back and take an overhead mark and pick the ball up from ground level and snap them from the boundary line. Like this guy next to us was probably one of the best going around in the competition during his era, and it was probably he was probably the catalyst that took the Swans to the next level in the forward line. And they say a lot of good defenders are failed forwards. You're certainly not a failed forward, Nick. You've been outstanding in this here. The vision there, that's where the Swans really come on the scene there. But this guy here next to me, like, I did get a bit nervous when we were coming up against the Swans. I used to hand him over to Marcus Ashcroft or someone else. I never wanted to play on this guy. I certainly made it known to everyone within the change rooms that I don't want to play on Mickey because he was outstanding. He'd work you up the ground, turn you around. If he wasn't marking the ball in the air, he was getting front and square, coming the goals. And he'd only need a second or two to have a snap on goal and actually make it count as well. So this guy here, he's probably one of the, named at full forward, having some players delivering the ball like your Morris Riolis and, your Nicky Winmars and these types, you'd be a fantastic inclusion.
Not doing too much in your pocket at the moment, Mickey.
Making me blush.
It was the frame, the body frame, which was that was part of that standard forward line sort of stuff, especially for that era. The long arms and the body fakes. You're trying to read the hips as to where you think he's going to go, but it's not happening that way. Following players well out of your position, just trying to keep him underlined. So it would have been a bad thing trying to. It
was hard. It was hard. And you talk about his ability. His ability at ground level was good too. For someone that's 6'1", 6'2", for someone to be able to pick the ball off your bootlaces at full tilt, by one hand even. Sometimes you get the other second hand down there if you needed to, but it was mainly one hand. He was able to read it on the fly and then execute it so well. But yeah, it was quite challenging to come up against yourself, Mickey. You put a lot of sleepless nights into my nights.
Well, we had some great battles. I think, when you're reflecting on the sort of forward line, like you played as a junior in your local clubs, and you, again, going back to that story where you hear your uncles and your aunties talking about, and I'd heard about this guy called Stephen Michael, and I hadn't watched, not watched Stephen Michael, but I'd heard so much about this guy over in WA and how good he was.
Have you shaken his hand?
And shook his hand.
It's the biggest hand I've ever seen.
Versatility, the creativity to make something happen when it's desperately needed. And I just heard story upon story upon story in South Australia about the legend that is Stephen Michael. And then, fortunately, chuck the old VHS videotape in, and your uncle put it on, and you'd watch it, and you'd just be marvelled at what he could do and how tough he was and the positions he could play. So you talk about the body shapes. Like, he could jump through the roof. He had the long arms. He had beautiful set of hands. And as a forward, it's really important to have really nice hands to be able to obviously create, but take a mark, and then obviously a little tap here, a little handball there. But he just had it all.
He did. He was one of those amazing footballers to watch as a player. And I got him once though. Got him once, but it was on a basketball court. But he was just one of those footballers that you just stopped and stared because it wasn't possible. Yeah. That wasn't possible what he done or was about to do. You look at him and go, okay, let's see how you get out of this one. And you'd have to rewind it and do it in slow-mo. By then, about 5 minutes is gone, and he's kicked about 2 or 3 goals.
And sorry, Chad, I'll just go. You're looking at this half-forward line and the full-forward line. They're all WA mob, except for this fella from South Australia. So Nicky Widmer, Sid Jackson. We spoke a little bit about Sid, and we'll talk about Nicky in a minute. But the other one I just wanted to mention was Chris Lewis. I mean, he had a period there at West Coast where he was one of the most dangerous forwards going around. And I just remember watching when they televised that back into South Australia, and watching Chris Lewis do and weave his magic. Him and Peter Matera, we mentioned Phil, who in his own right was an incredible player, and their older brother. But when Chris was up and running, tough and cheeky at the same time, but he could do things that would just leave you in awe.
Again, the younger brother. Clayton and Cameron.
His brother thing, isn't there?
Clayton and Cameron, the older brothers, damn good footballers for Claremont as well, and the two big brothers. But it was Chris coming through after them. I mean, Clayton had wore Uncle Elwyn's number 17 for the Tigers, but then Chris was the baby of the three brothers, and again, it's a younger brother syndrome that gone through, go through on playing a good game for them. There's my little Mulangi, that fella, because Mulangi in my language is that Port Jackson parrot, and that's traditional bird from over home, and that's the name we give Chris because the common word for that is that parrot is the 28, and Louis had number 28 in his back. Yeah, you'd have a lot of fun with all that sort of.
Oh, I tell you what, again, being a backman, it'd be tough to tie down this forward line. But you think about some of the superstars in here. One for me, again, I'm going to go for that transcends football. A lot of these players do, but Nicky Widmer. I mean, for as a young fella growing up and seeing that moment, what he stood up for, so this is, enough is enough, and what he did for that moment, I'll remember that forever. But you think about the way, not just that, but the way they played as well. Like, he was an absolute superstar. I mean, and like every single player down here, they've got the ability. I find, you think about this forward line, a lot of them are, or nearly all of them, have a dual threat. Like you said, clean by hand, underground, in the air. And that's what I think makes some of these players so special. You think about Polly Farmer, you think about Madra McLean, Mickey O, like you said, Jim Cracker, Sid Jackson. Everyone has the ability to impact the game in more than just one way. And that's what makes some of these players so special. And
the other one too is that we cannot forget is Jimmy Cracker.
Yeah,
the Jimmy Cracker. Like we've
talked about
Phil
mentality.
back together. But we talked a lot about the meetings. But this is probably the most genuine small forward in the team, and the ability for him and his brother to take the North Melbourne Football Club to the promised land was outstanding. And his ability their ability to know each other were on the ground, and you see this little bit of play here, just a tap on there, just outstanding. And they were obviously WA guys again, but they were certainly able to bring fans through the gates. There's no doubt about that.
And probably what the other thing around Jim and Phil, tough, brave, courageous.
Big football community where they come from, and that whole strength, and country town against country town was bragging rights, and the Mount Barker boys were pretty tough in regards to. But the Cracker the Cracker family, in the lot of it is that again, that strong mentality towards football. Wheatbelt families again, and they've just taken the game to the level that it was. I mean, I've seen games with Phil and Jim and Nicky back home, and sort of like, no. But it's one of those funny things is the selectors are sort of like, which one can we take? It's a whole team, basically. This one looks like it needs a good feed, I'll take this one. And that's how they ended up with someone like Nicky Widmer.
To your point, Chad, as well, I think you watched Nicky and we saw those highlights. He lived in the air. He was just incredible balance, sitting on someone's shoulders, going up, having beautiful hands to be able to obviously to execute the skill and taking the mark. But he played above they say it in basketball terms, played above the rim. He just was incredible about reading the flight of the ball, getting there, then sitting on someone's head. And so many highlights.
I sorted him out though. We had a celebrity match back in Perth, and I took the helicopter, Channel 7 helicopter, out to Pingelly. He didn't know what was going on. They turned up the football oval, and I put him in the front seat of the helicopter with no glass floor above his hometown. Nicky Widmer pulled his eyes. Big sook, he was a big sook, because this is where he grew up, and it's all underneath him. And we dropped him in at CB Oval back in those days. But it's that thing, the humble side of Nicky Widmer is such a joy to know, to be strong, to witness. Okay, guys, I'm going to ask you a simple question now. Those are the team from 20 years ago, all right? Who would be in the team, the 20 now?
Like a one person that we're going to lock in.
If you was to just sort of put that, like the old football jumpers in the club room,
Yeah.
these are the names in those positions, who would take on that, who would be have that jumper on loan at the moment?
Well, why don't you lock in a back? You lock in a mid, and I'll lock in a forward. See if we can get one in each line.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, rightio. I'd probably have to go with what I said earlier. I think Stephen May, at the moment, he's probably the key back, and there's not too many key backs going around the competition at the moment. He'd probably be one for mine. Obviously, been pretty good at the Suns when he first started off, but then finished off his career pretty well at the Deeds as well, and still going strong at the moment. So I'd have to go with Stevie May, an old Crocs boy as well. So I'd have to go lock him away, Chad.
Yeah.
So if you was to put a couple either side of him as a bit of a backup?
Well, yeah, you probably got your Jars Impies and your Carl Amons. So you got those two guys that can run and carry the ball out of defence. Jars was a forward coming through the Vic country, and then I turned him into a back, and he's lived his life there ever since. So I'd probably put Jars Impey there.
so you're claiming his success is your...
Yes.
I felt that one too. I mean, so,
Mate, you got to claim it when you can, Mick.
I know.
You know.
Because it's great that's a good reminder, because when they get up there at that elite, I owe all my thanks to CJ when he was, when I was a little fella.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think certainly from my end, I love watching Messiah. Nas, for me, that he's got beautiful height, and I just think clean. He's just starting to come into his own. He's putting some size on, strength around what he's doing. Currently, he had an amazing year this year. But him, I think, in a few years' time, could really challenge to be a part of that next team of the century. And probably the other one who I think, along with Nas, is probably in that sort of top 5 to 10 best players in the comp right now is Isaac Rankin. I think the Crows' fortune took a dip this year when he was left out of the side, but what he can do on the football field is amazing. He turns games. He's got that special X factor.
Is Isaiah complete, or is he still?
I think he's got a lot more to go. St Kilda have got a real good one in the side, and I think his upside is probably bigger than anyone in the comp at the moment.
Because that's at the moment as well, where he's not finished yet.
No, Cozzy is he's a different beast altogether. I just love what he can do. When he goes forward, he's the best small forward in the comp, but he's got now that endurance, he's got that toughness. He wants to lay a tackle more than he wants to get a kick, which coaches love and supporters love as well. So he's one of those guys that when people come to watch the football, they come to watch Cozzy. And his upside is, I think, in my view, when he gets more time in the midfield, he's going to be even dangerous.
That's taking care of the forward line. He's put you out of a job there. Can you fix that up for me?
In the mids or the forwards? We're going forwards. Yeah, so I'm talking about since this team's come out. So not the current players, but since this team's come out, you've got to have Buddy Franklin. I think that's where you start your forward line. You start from the guy that's kicked 1,000 goals.
Yeah,
100%.
And the guy who's probably been the face of the league for so long. Who's on the left of him? Can you imagine this? Eddie Betts.
Oh yeah, that's simple, yeah.
And to the right of him, on his left foot, Sirioli. They're the three people, if I could pick a forward line outside of this team, the next generation, the ones that I grew up watching, it'd be those three, and they're pretty hard to mix with anyone.
There's absolutely no argument there.
no, not at all.
But Shawnee Burgoyne is probably one in the midfield that obviously is not in this team.
Yeah.
Well, he did get a mention earlier, Sean.
Yes, exactly right.
He is a champion in every sense of the word, and what he's been able to do at Port Adelaide, then go to Hawthorn.
2 Hall of Fame careers.
Wow, it actually is.
And the forward line's hard because there's so many, great forwards from our Indigenous backgrounds. Like they've been around the competition for so long since this team. That's where they've sort of found. That's where we've found mainly a majority of our players in the competition has been in that forward line.
Now, pardon the pun. The dark horses. The dark horses that are just there, and you're sort of like, oh yeah, that one. Who would they be?
I've got one now that's moved on from the Brisbane Lions and gone to Adelaide Crows, where I think his story still is going to keep going on. He's Calamarchi. A big game player.
Yes.
Has come from the Suns, come to Brisbane, out to his third club now, who he's supported for. Certainly, he would be one that you can sort of swing anywhere on the ground, whether it's forward, midfield, or back, and he's done that for the Brisbane Lions. So I think there's him. You've got a couple others as well that sort of sit there as well. Charlie Cameron, that sit there as well. So I think there's quite a number of them. I know they're two Lions players, they're the ones
like
that are certainly, for me, would certainly be in discussions in the selection part.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, see, I would have loved if Cameron would have gone home, because my team, as you know, we're a very strong team. We hold the rest of the ladder up. So if he'd came home, that would have been wonderful that we've had Callum back home where he started. But those other players that sort of are peripheral, because they're not flashy. They just do their work every week. Someone we've sort of dropped out a bit also is that amazing referee that back from that era.
Jamesy.
Mr. James, for instance. He copped a lot, but geez, did he give it back to him?
Yeah, the good thing about Jamesy was that he was always, any room he'd walk into or any ground he'd walk onto, he'd have that big smile, and he used to cop it not only just of the players but the supporters as well. And look, he was, certainly, up against it in his time, and that's why he's probably named in this team of the century, because he was a great umpire and he kept it very personal, he kept it very professional at the same time as well, and he had a really good relationship with the playing groups as well, where he umpired against. Yes, he got a couple wrong. They all do, but certainly Jamesy, to be named as the Indigenous Team of the Century umpire, was outstanding.
Yeah, I just on that was like I think you the respect of the peers and everybody involved in the game. With Glenn James, they all respected him. He copped a hell of a lot. He gave it back as well, but he went through a lot. But the one thing, when you speak to these older players, they loved him. They absolutely respected him. So what a fitting tribute to the great Glenn James.
And probably another one for me is if we're talking about the next generation of the next century to come up. Coach for me, Xavier Clark. Coached the Indigenous All-Stars, got the win against Fremantle. He's got the respect, and he's next up. I mean, a head coaching gig is probably not too far away. You think if there's another one that comes up, he could be that guy. So to coach, imagine being coaching of this group, he's probably, for me, the one that's going to be next in line that could potentially be the coach of this team. And what an honour that would be. Yeah.
I was just thinking also with the Suns, with their new coaches going up there, it's taken out of a lot of the Suns players. I mean, Callum, for instance, but also young Jeffries playing for top end boy.
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast, gone into that now. And having that, players around them that's giving them that lift as well, especially those that they've played before as juniors. So that's a good thing for young players like Jeffrey, for instance, and to come and have Callum come in on there with a bit of wealth and knowledge as well to strengthen up those lines of players for that next. Having that so-called brother with you, it's a big thing.
100%.
Big thing. See, with that, where does the last Indigenous team of the century, where does that fit into today's line? What is the message that having that team to look up to?
Certainly, I might have a crack at it, Jono, but I think it's around, we get to stand on the shoulders of all these incredible pioneers. So we're in the team, that's brilliant, it's a great acknowledgement for what we've been able to contribute to the game. But we grew up as fans, and we have our huge respect for the players that have come before us. And you think about the guys that were unlucky to be in this, that missed this team. And I'm talking about, the Jeffrey Farmers, the Derek Kickett's, the names, the list goes on and on and on. Now, that'd be in any other team of the century, to tell you the truth. And you think about the teams over in WA, NT, SA, Victoria, all over the place, the players that have missed out, and you can only fit so many people in a team. So it's great acknowledgement, but it's great that this younger generation, guys like Chad, they see this and they go, wow, that's incredible. So acknowledging our past has always been one of our strong suits. We've always paid our respects that way, and there's no different into this team. So lucky, but a lot of hard work's gone into that as well. And we're fortunate enough to get the nod in front of a couple of others that could be there and probably should be there at some point. And this next generation, you know, they've got a lot to live up to, but also they've got some incredible, you know, talent coming through that's going to be. I don't know, John, if we might make this next team.
Exactly. No, you're spot on, Mick, because it's what I feel that this is. You know, we were sitting in the lounge room, we were sitting in the stands watching these guys play and had aspirations. So it's around hope. I think hope that any young Indigenous person around the country, and male or female at the moment, can certainly strive to be in the next team of the century. Because I think what this team means to me means that. Yes, I had a goal and I went out and set it, but without the guys that we acknowledged before us, that have come before us and paved the way and were on TV, then we were able to come on and replicate. They're the reasons why we're sitting here today. Is it wasn't for them, you know, we had no vision or aspirations to do that, because we need to see people that are doing things in spaces where we're not. And whether it's football, whether it's in the other area, where for Mick and I, it's in the business sector at the moment. But, you know, I think for this team here, young people should look at it and say, why can't that be me?
Talking about young people in regards to that, you're looking at the trophy shelf above you, which contains images of such players. As a young fella, what does that give you? What does that mean for you, having looking at these elder players?
Yeah, again, like Chrissy said, it's hope. It's seeing visibility. And for me, I actually just had a moment. I was like, imagine a game of AFL without that, without those people. Can you imagine where this game would be without Indigenous players and without these specific players and what they've done for the game? It's such custodians of the game, and every time you get told, every time you walk you're a custodian of the jumper. But you don't just wear that jumper when you're a brother. You wear the skin, you wear your mob, you wear you're from, and again you represent. And then you also got, without even knowing, you're 18 and you walk in the doors, and you got people that look up to you. And the young generation, they've got social media, they've got other elements of what it takes to be a role model these days. But these guys were the epitome of role models, and for the younger generation, they learnt how to do that through watching these people, how they went about their business, not on the field and also off the field, emulate them. And now you see the Nazes of the world, Cozzy, these guys coming through, absolute superstars, but they're good people. And that's what this team represents for me.
The fun thing about it is looking at the players, and there's got to be a relation. It's got to be a relation of mine, because that's what is a lot more. And I mean, Mickey O's friendship side of it, and the Brisbane side of you guys, and watching you guys grow up now, and sort of like, are you related to him? Yes.
Yeah, claiming everyone there.
Yeah. That's the thing, and that's what makes this family stronger as it goes forward. Guys, thank you so much in so many different ways. Chris, always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks
Mickey,
for the chat.
Family speaks very highly of you.
Been deadly, Uncle. Thank you.
Chad, thank you. Sorry, a bit emotional there because
we love you, mate.
Yeah.
My brother and Mickey, a lot of memories. Thank you for joining us to celebrate the 20 years of the Indigenous Team of the Century. I hope you've enjoyed this look back at some of the stars and highlights of the team and the lasting impact that they have on our great game. I'll see you at the footy.